Genesis 4. Now the man was intimate with his wife Eve, and she became pregnant and gave birth to Cain. Then she said, I have created a man just as the Lord did. Then she gave birth to his brother Abel. Abel took care of the flocks while Cain cultivated the ground. At the designated time, Cain brought some of the fruit of the ground and offered it to the Lord. But Abel brought some of the firstborn of his flock, even the fattest of them. And the Lord was pleased with Abel and his offering, but with Cain and his offering he was not pleased. So Cain became very angry, and his expression was downcast. Then the Lord said to Cain, Why are you angry? And why is your expression downcast? Is it not true that if you do what is right, you will be fine, but if you do not do what is right, sin is crouching at the door, its desire to dominate you, but you must subdue it. Cain said to his brother Abel, Let's go to the field. While they were in the field, Cain attacked his brother Abel and killed him. Then the Lord said to Cain, Where is your brother Abel? He replied, I don't know. Am I my brother's guardian? But the Lord said, What have you done? The voice of your brother's blood is crying out to me from the ground. So now you are banished from the ground, which has opened its mouth to receive your brother's blood from your hand. When you try to cultivate the ground, it will no longer yield its best for you. You will be a homeless wanderer on the earth. Then Cain said to the Lord, My punishment is too great to endure. Look, you are driving me off the land today, and I must hide from your presence. I will be a homeless wanderer on the earth. Whoever finds me will kill me. The Lord said to him, All right then, if anyone kills Cain, Cain will be avenged 7 times as much. Then the Lord put a special mark on Cain so that no one who found him would strike him down. So Cain went out from the presence of the Lord and lived in the land of Nod, east of Eden. Cain was intimate with his wife, and she became pregnant and gave birth to Enoch. Cain was building a city, and he named the city after his son Enoch. To Enoch was born Irad, and Irad was the father of Mehujael. Mehujael was the father of Methuselah, and Methuselah was the father of Lamech. I realized I was saying that wrong. Lamech had 2 wives for himself. The name of the first was Adah, and the name of the second was Zillah. Adah gave birth to Jabal. He was the first, and those who lived in tents and kept livestock. The name of his brother Jabul. He was the first of those who play the harp and the flute. Now Zillah also gave birth to Tubal-Cain, who heated metal and shaped all kinds of tools of bronze and iron. The sister of Tubal-Cain was Naamah. Lamech said to his wives, Adah and Zillah, listen to me, you wives of Lamech, hear my words. I have killed a man for wounding me, a young man for hurting me. If Cain is to be avenged 7 times as much, then Lamech 77 times. And Adam was intimate with his wife again, and she gave birth to a son. She named him Seth, saying, God has given me another child in place of Abel because Cain killed him. And a son was born to Seth, who he named Enosh. At that time, people began to worship the Lord. All right, so there we have it. Bum, bum, bum. We'll start with the first part instead of jumping into the second part there. Okay, so we have what happens in Genesis 3 with the eating of the fruit and the cursing of everything and the promise of a seed. I think when we read this, we need to have that in mind because it is the next event. So it says Adam was intimate with his wife. This is going to be the colloquial to know, which is knowing is not intellect. Knowing is experience. So we could say it a different way where the man experienced his wife, Eve. That's how we get to it because knowledge is experiential, not intellect. It's not intellect alone. There has to be experience and relationship. So we could have said he had relations with his wife. We could go all those directions from the Hebrew there, which when we get to the Greek, we do a poor job and we think everything is intellect, but that's my bias. She gave birth, or she became pregnant and gave birth to Cain. And she said, I have created a man just as the Lord did. So what do we have here in the word? Excuse me. My mouse is jumping all over the place as I try to move it and cough at the same time. Here is another sound play. Paramasia. So, paranomasia. So it is a word play. So you say a word that sounds like another word. Hebrew loves to do this. It loves to have a word sound like a word so that you think of that word even though you're giving another word. So the sound of the verb kaniti, I have created, reflects the sound of the name Cain, kaniti, Cain. I don't know how closely I'm pronouncing those to the right pronunciation, but it gives the meaning to it. So it's like taking the verb and making it into a noun. So adulting. If like I grew up, adulting wasn't a thing. Now adulting is a thing. We just took a noun, we turned it into a verb. So I have created, and so then we take it and we shift it. So this would be the way they could do that. The saying uses the perfect kana. There are two homonymic verbs with the spelling, one meaning obtain, the other meaning acquire. And the other, so one means to obtain, acquire, the other means to create. The latter fits the context very well. Eve has created man. Rather than obtained and acquired because I got it over there, I created because it came from me. So that's what she's saying here. Just as the Lord did. Let me see. I thought maybe it's the second time. Seems to indicate the name Yahweh translated first revealed in Exodus 3:14. It is odd to see it in quotations. Yeah, with the help of the Lord. So this is with the help of Yahweh here. So there's other ways to read the Exodus passage. We're not there, so we won't dive into that. Then she gave birth to his brother Abel. Abel took care of the flocks while Cain cultivated the ground. Okay, so notice one thing that happens here at the beginning. It says, the man was intimate with his wife, Eve. She became pregnant. She gives birth to Cain. It does not say she was intimate with him again and then gave birth to Abel. It later does say she was intimate, she knew her husband, and then she gave birth to Seth. So there is the possibility here that this is twins. It doesn't specifically say it, but there is no, and then she was intimate again, and then she had a second son. It could just be adding information and just giving us, there's more kids. But if you go down the idea of, is there people alive and are there two creations in Genesis 1 and Genesis 2? Here's part of that argument. That's why I pointed out to you. Because if Adam and Eve, she's only pregnant once and has Cain and Abel, and then the second time she's pregnant, she has Seth, that means those are the three kids. Yeah, there could be some girls perhaps in there, but it's not answering the question, where did Cain get his wife? Cain get his wife. It's also a better explanation on some level of where would all of these people that want to potentially kill Cain be at? Unless there is a population on the earth, why would Cain be worried that someone wants to kill him? He's supposed to go wander. If his whole family is right here and they're not spread over the whole face of the globe, then he needs to, he can go wander, be away from everybody. Nobody's ever going to find him. Cain's fear just seems to make some sense in that regard. Hey, welcome in, Mel. Welcome in. I'm watching you people. Okay. Now, at the designated time, we don't know what time this is. Is this springtime? Is this at the end of harvest time? It happened at the end of days. The clause indicates the passing of a set period of time leading to sacrifices. So, at the time, ooh, a mushroom pizza. That sounds good. Cain brought some of the fruit of the ground as an offering to the Lord, and Abel brought some firstborn of his flock, even the fattest of them. So we have two offerings that are brought. They bring what they have. So there are people who argue that the whole reason Cain's was a problem is it wasn't blood. That is not knowing your Bible if that's what you've been taught and think. Because there are grain offerings, there are wave offerings, there are bread offerings, there are wine offerings. There are a whole bunch of offerings that have to do with the grain and with wine and even oils that all come from the ground. So Cain could have been doing those, and that would not have been a problem. So being that it's not blood is not the answer to this problem. At least I can't see a way that it is. Also, we have no knowledge of what the instructions are on giving offerings. There's a presumption that offerings will happen. How did they learn these? Either God told them, or their parents taught them, Adam and Eve did. We don't know the basis for them, nor do we know the standard for them, but something is wrong with Cain's. I've heard some speculation, but I think there's ways to have problems with that speculation of, well, if Abel is bringing the firstborn of his flock, well, when our sheep's birth are going to be at one part of the year, so any of the produce of the ground is going to be, leftovers, so it's not going to be the first fruits kind of a thing. But when you're in the Middle East, there are sheep that birth at different times of year, so that doesn't help get to that answer. And also, grain, if you're doing a grain offering, grain isn't going to go bad unless the grain went bad. So maybe it's the quality of what he gave, or it's the heart behind him giving. Like, I'm going to give, it's my obligation, I better do it. Now, it doesn't say there was any problem with it, okay? It just said Abel's offering, but with Cain's offering, he was not, I guess it does say, when we look at the phrasing here, I don't think it always goes in not pleased. The letters of the Hebrew explain the difference between them. Abel's faith offered a better sacrifice. Cain offered as well. His reaction is displeasing, but does not reflect okay, that's assuming it's faith that's at the heart of this. It doesn't tell us in the context. He was pleased with Abel's offering, but with Cain he was not. Let me go see. I thought it just said no regard. So let's go Genesis 4. Bum, 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 bum. Bum, 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 bum. He had not respect. Let's see what the Hebrew is there. He had no sa'ah. Sha'ah. Yeah, to regard it, to look at, to regard, to gaze at, to look away, to look in dismay, to gaze. So depending on, it's in the kal, to gaze, regard, to behold, to look at. So it's kind of like he didn't pay any attention to it. Like he was like, yeah, whatever. Yeah, whatever. That's kind of the way I imagine it. Anyway. So he's paid, like, he has no mind. Like, it's meh, whatever. But Cain's all upset because of that. But look at this. In response to Cain's response, that God seems to have very little response to the offering, God's like, why are you angry? Why is your expression downcast? God does care. Oh, didn't other people not hear the word when I clicked on it? It looked like it was going. Is it not true that if you do what is right, you will be fine? So there was something about what he was doing, and he was not doing it correct. The sentence, if you do what is well, uplifted. That's what it is. If you do what's well, you'll be uplifted. Your face has fallen, you'll be uplifted. So you will get a reversal of it. But if you do what is right, if you do not do what is right, sin is crouching at the door. Its desire is to dominate you. You must subdue it. The Hebrew translated crouching, rovetz, is an active participle. Sin is portrayed like an animal, imaginary here as a beast crouching and ready to pounce, a figure of speech. Sin is the demon at the door. Okay. Its desire, I want to go look at that. That is verse 7. Bum, 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 bum. Verse 7, desire. Teshuka. Teshuka.
Strong's H8669. Teshuka.
It's just taco, single taco. Sorry. Desire, longing, craving of a desire of a beast. And it starts in Genesis 3, and the desire shall be for thy husband, and he shall rule over thee. It's this craving. It's the thing. And I think there's different forms of it. That's why it's only showing up 3 times. It must be the root of it. But it was just used in the previous chapter as the thing that's between you and your husband is going to be this. And now it is the thing between sin and your son. And you must dominate it. It wants to dominate you, but you must. So it's like sin is a battle. It's portrayed here as a real battle. So goes out in the field, attacks, and kills his brother. Now, if we're to see God as an angry person, old man in the sky that wants to just, punish you when you do wrong, why does he not kill Cain for this? Like, that would be the logical sense of why he doesn't do it. We get no explanation. God shows mercy. So Adam and Eve sin, God shows mercy. Cain kills Abel, God shows mercy. Like, that's the thing that we see. The character of God is one of showing mercy. That's what we have. So God confronts him. He says, am I my brother's keeper? The answer that everyone should say would be, you are. You are supposed to. You are the firstborn. You are the Behor. You are supposed to care for the family. So yes, Cain, you're supposed to be the guardian of your brother. That is your role and responsibility. So his excuse only really works in a modernistic world where we're individualistic and we pay no mind to others around us. Your brother's blood cries out from the ground, so you're banished from the ground. So now he is going to be a homeless wanderer. Okay, you will be a homeless wanderer on the earth. Is this a command or is this a description of what will happen? The two similar sounding vanad, wanderer, and a fugitive. This juxtaposition of synonyms emphasizes the single idea. In transition, one can serve as the main description, the other as the modifier. Other translation include a wandering fugitive or a ceaseless wanderer. So, is this part of the punishment? You will be a wanderer, or the punishment is the land will no longer yield food to you as a result of the land no longer giving you what it produces. You'll have to keep moving because you won't be able to plant crops. They're going to be in abundance. You'll plant 1 year, the second year it's going to be pitiful. Third year you're getting nothing. So you're going to have to keep moving and keep starting over. You're just going to it's not going to give you anything. So you're going to have to keep moving, keep moving, keep moving. So pound, you know what? I might need to go into pound cake and put that all together as one word, because AutoMod keeps having a problem with that. So I don't see homeless wanderer as a punishment. I see it as a consequence of what he did. So different way of seeing it, because then you say, oh, well, Cain built a city, so he was violating God's punishment for him. Like it was a command. I don't see it as a command. I see it as a statement of you're going to be a hopeless wanderer. Cain complains, my punishment is too much to bear. You're driving me off the land today. I must hide from your presence. So he feels like he's going to be out of the presence of God, which if the garden is close to the presence of God and you're living close to the garden, then yeah, you are going to be far away from it. So God makes a concession. If anyone kills Cain, Cain will be avenged 7 times as much. And the Lord put a special mark on Cain. Okay. The sign reminder, the term sign, is not used in the translation because it might imply to an English reader that God hung a sign on Cain. Yes, it was outward visual reminder of Cain's special protection. We don't know what the mark is. There has been speculation that has to do with racist views. It does not make any sense to me that would be the case, that's what's going on here. Because if the mark is on Cain and it is skin coloring, why would that need to be passed down to his kids? Because there is no punishment on the kids. It would only be Cain. So to think it is anything that is genetic and passed on to those who follow after him does not make logical sense, because the punishment is for Cain and the mark is so that Cain will not be killed, and Cain is the one underneath this. So that logic does not make sense. Now it says Cain was intimate with his wife, and we've got Enoch, and we've got a list here, and we've got some other people, and then we get to Lamech, and Lamech is, we have the list of all of the things that his family is known for. There are some who say, well, why are we recognizing these things if these people have to live after the flood? No, you can have them introduce metal, and you can have them introduce musical instruments before the flood, which are learned by Noah and his family, and then they are reproduced after the flood. So just pointing that out. There's some who will say that here's one of those things that proves that the flood didn't happen. It's because otherwise these people wouldn't be the fathers of something. Well, the father of football is the person that created football. The father of basketball is the person that, it's whoever you attribute it to being widespread. So these could be the person who is the attributive one of it being widespread. They could have lived before the flood because these things were prominent before the flood. And then Noah and his sons knew about these things, and they could have done them after the flood. So I don't see the issue with that sometimes is mentioned here. So we have the 2 wives, and we have I killed a man for wounding me, a young man for hurting me. Now, these do not sound like they're innocent things. They sound like he's vindictive, but he's like, if God, this could be what he's saying, if God let Cain off the hook for killing his brother, then and he was going to be avenged, I'm going to be avenged even more. So he knows the story of his dad, his grandfather, I should say, or great-grandfather, whatever number that is, and he's going to be avenged 77 times, like even more. If Cain is a murderer, avenged 7, then how much more who have been unjustly wronged? Lamech misses the point of God's mercy. Yes, he does. Okay, here is then Adam was intimate with his wife again. So intimate has 2 children. Not intimate has 1 kid. Intimate has a 2nd kid. It only mentions intimate again. So did it need to mention it for Abel, or were they twins? I kind of want to go with their twins. Here, he now has Seth. God has given me another child in place of Abel because Cain killed him. There's no need to replace Cain because Cain is not dead, although Cain is gone. Doesn't need to be there. And then there's this interesting phrase that at that time people began to worship the Lord. Why were they not worshiping before? What does that really mean, worshiping the Lord? And is that people outside the garden? If you think that there were people outside the garden and Adam and Eve are supposed to be the ones who represent God on earth and go out, then that would make sense that after this birth, there would be that. It would also make sense that Cain is wandering, why he would worry about people killing him. If it's just his family, why would he worry about it? Now, I don't know what to wrestle with all these things. Plus, I like a lot of stuff with unanswered things. So there's probably more we could jump into there, but I think that'll do it for today. All right.